A very good morning to one and all here. So I am Deepika and I work in RV College of Engineering in the Department of MCA. So this is going to be my real-time experience, what I see day to day and what are the questions I get day to day. And I'm going to share with you what has happened over the years. And I'm also looking out for some suggestions from your end to make this feasible or taking this to the next level. Okay, so let me start. So the agenda. So the questions: where, who, what, why, and how. Where is FOSS? Yes, what is FOSS? Where is FOSS? Asking this is a good question here. Actually, seriously, yes. Because most of the time, most of the students, they come back to me and ask me this question. One single question. So how many students are there in this room? Can you raise your hands? Okay, 1, 2. Okay, then I have so many experts here. Thank you. So coming back. So where is FOSS? Why should I use FOSS? Why FOSS? How is it going to be helpful? What do I get if I use FOSS? These are the questions I get to know every day. Then the second point, who am I? So what have I done? What do I do? What am I planning to do? So those questions. And then what do I teach focusing on this topic of FOSS? I don't teach any proprietary software. That is my commitment to this this committee or to the community. I don't teach anything apart from FOSS. So this is what I have done for the last 7 years. So yes, the faculty strength of my college is around 450 faculties, both the genders. Around 275 are female professors. And I'm the only one who uses FOSS. The only person who uses FOSS. Yes, it's a very, very bad state. It's a very, very, very bad state. They are frightened to use FOSS, the open statement. They are worried to use FOSS. They don't know if I do something with my laptop, how am I going to get it back? They are worried about the hardware and not really the software and their privileges over that. And the next question, how do I make a better FOSS environment? Okay, so this is my agenda for the day. So where is FOSS? On my serious class, I was teaching a group of students. Yes, the strength was around 60. So I was teaching these 60 students a very, very basic thing about FOSS. So when I started to learn about FOSS, there was a mentor of mine who told me not to believe in the UI. They told me to trust only the command line method. So when I started to teach FOSS, I started using the shell scripting. So I told them the various commands available, the power of those commands, what is that achieve, what do they do, everything. One student at the end of my class, he got up and he asked me, what is the difference between ifconfig and ipconfig? Both gets me the same output. This is what I face. See, I can go tell him the power of FOSS, the privileges what it gives me, the security aspects, the freedom, basic freedom. But even then, I get this question of the difference between ipconfig and ifconfig. There is another student who got up and told me, why should I remove my licensed operating system and installed Ubuntu or any flavor of GNU Linux? I can directly install a VM and run this operating system and fetch the commands you ask me for. You understand the impact? See, the student's mindset is that they just want to achieve the task. How they achieve it doesn't really matter for them. Whether I achieve it, the same output you want, I get the output. But how I do it, don't ask. This is the impact of FOSS what the students have. And let me tell you, one of the worst situations I face every day. Getting students convinced to use FOSS. They start up with proprietary and they end up only with proprietary. And the proprietary, I'll tell you, there's the students who are really able to afford only, they use Macintosh. The rest, they use only Microsoft Windows. Any flavor of Microsoft Windows. where it really doesn't give you the commands of changing its logo also, changing the boot up screen also, and even the wallpaper, until I set one. But then they really think I'm able to achieve it because the GUI is friendly. So does that really mean that FOSS is not friendly? Actually, FOSS is much more better than that. It trains you. It just serves like a parent to you. It teaches you. I will tell you one of the most worst situations I've had. I have started using FOSS around, say, for around 5 to 6 years. The blunder what I made, I deleted the sudo. I removed the sudo once, the initial period. Yes, some of you all might have done so many blunders. Not everybody becomes an expert over the days. This is my worst blunder. I've removed sudo and I really didn't know how to do it without sudo. So my mentor told me, you are the first person to remove it. I lost all my privileges, then I had to reinstall sudo. Yes, sudo apt-get install, apt-get install sudo. This was the blunder I did. But how many of we really get this privilege of someone telling us to do what is correct or what we don't know sometimes? That is another question. So seriously, students don't know basically what they do. Their ultimate goal is, I have to add something to my resume. I have to get a good placement with a good CTC. This is the basic thing. So coming back into that aspect, there are some companies who question them in the placement process on Linux. For example, PhonePe. Why I'm so sure is that one of my students has been recently placed into PhonePe. His CTC is 24. 24. And what was basically asked is the Linux shell scripting commands. The other student, yes, Amazon Web Services. AWS. Sad role of me being into this subject is that, I'll tell you, I teach the postgrads. Coming into this aspect, postgrads, you know what they really do? They come in for better placement opportunities. Open truth. They might have completed their BE or any bachelor's for that matter. So if you have a basic mathematic paper in your UG, you're permitted to do MCA, which has ultimately come down to 2 years now. And moreover, NEP policy 1 year, 1 year MCA. You want to join part-time, 1 year, within 1 year, you'll finish Masters of Computer Application. Sad part. Okay? So when they come into our placement, yes, we have 99.9% placed. 400 students passing out from our department this year. Highest CTC is 24 lakhs with PhonePe. The basic CTC is 4 lakhs. But the ultimate goal is only for that. You come into RV or any good colleges in the state, it's only for placement. There is one student who walks into the department, just because admission process are going right now, comes and asks me, which company gives me the highest placement? How do I prepare for it? He has not even joined the course. He has not even attended the first day of class. Let me tell you this. So how am I going to impact the importance of FOSS to that student so that he's going to carry it forward? There is one student of mine. I'm a pure Debian user. Purest form of Debian user. I don't change my operating system. I update it, I upgrade it, I don't change. Okay? So there is one student of me who has influenced my operating system, so he installed one in his laptop. He did it marvelously, let me tell you. He changed everything. He started contributing to the Debian community also. Sad part, he is praised into one of these companies of Japanese called as Artcore, who's completely into data analytics using proprietary operating system. So now his aim is going to Japan, earning in yen, forgetting India and rupee. Moreover, FOSS. Because the ultimate goal is achieved. See, I will not even blame only the students for this aspect. It's not only the problem of the student. It's prior problems. The parent starts to focus. The family starts to force. Your friend starts to force. I am placed in this company. Where are you? Siblings, I'm following you. Where are you? So this is the complete force where youngsters have been led into. It's not the students' problem. It's only the peer problem. Ultimate aim, when they come and join into a management seat, which is costing around 5 lakhs, only for masters, okay? They come and join for the master's seat for 5 lakhs. They ask you the next question, how much is going to be the CTC you're going to get it for my son or my daughter? So this is without gender. I'll tell you one more gender biased problem, especially women in FOSS. They stop using it after a certain age. They stop using it after a certain age. What is this age? Yes, this age might be once they get their job or after marriage, they stop contributing, they stop working, they stop using. There is no support, especially for this team. My problem here is that being out of that 275, one single person who uses only non-proprietary, they are really worried about installing the operating system. The rest are really worried. I tried to gather a group, faculty, not students, faculties. I tried to gather a group. I motivated them to install the operating system. They are really worried whether it will crash or what will happen if I do something wrong tomorrow and there is no one who's going to help me out. This is the problem. They are worried. They are used with the GUI method. They are happy with the GUI method. Proprietary GUI method. Forget the open source GUI method. Proprietary GUI method. Happy sitting there. These are the problems what I face day to day. Coming back, the next part. Who am I? So I am Deepika. I am currently working as Assistant Professor, Department of MCA, College of Engineering. I teach students only using FOSS. I teach them only FOSS. I received my PhD from 2020 and I worked only on FOSS to achieve that. I worked on various communication devices from UWB, LoRa, BLE, Wi-Fi and GPS. My thesis title was Improvement of Human Tracking Using Location-Based Systems. So this is my thesis title. Complete system has been real-time implemented only using FOSS. I have not used any proprietary tools. Even my thesis was written using non-proprietary tools. So this is my target. So what I do, I teach FOSS, I mentor students, I focus on girls especially because the community is very, very less. I teach them, I mentor them, I tell them the impact of version control, and I also mentor them so that they will be able to contribute to the community. And moreover, I have publication records all over the globe. I travel a lot. I have published around 15 papers and I have around 150 citations. I published 2 book chapters. The third was in process. So coming back, I'm a person who tries to implement FOSS wherever possible. So when I have plants growing, I put some IoT there. So when I am traveling, I use some sensor boards to play music, carry it with me. So wherever I can implement FOSS, I'm doing it there. So moving across, what I teach. So as I told you, Linux shell scripting, I teach them the basics. I teach them the various versions or the flavors of the shell, the bash, the zish, and all these things. I tell how it differs from one another. And then I teach Android-based mobile app development. So even in Android, I'm very particular that I don't use Firebase. We use Back4App or any other open source cloud operating systems, or basically SQLite, SQL, over. So for the students or the companies which want to focus on the proprietary mobile apps also, mobile operating systems also, I teach them the progressive web apps, the web browser-based web apps. So the progressive web apps, PWA, I teach them that. And coming to IoT, yes, we teach them IoT using only Linux, running on a Raspberry Pi, and connecting various sensors, boards like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, ESP8266 and ESP32. And we tell them to push the data to Grafana, InfluxDB. We use MQTT protocol, all these things. Some protocols, open source protocols, basically. Okay, so this is what I teach in FOSS. So my commitment to this community is that actually, I'll tell you this. It was around 5 years ago, I started to use FOSS. Basically, I was not so motivated. I was not so motivated. I was like, what is that I'm going to get if I use FOSS? My question, basic question, starts from the teacher only. Okay. But yes, the people who have taken me into the right path, they told me the importance, they made me work. But the real interest of getting into FOSS happened only after I met RMS, Richard M. Stallman, sir. He had visited in January 2019 our campus. He wanted to motivate the students. He wanted to motivate them. But then he's actually, more than the students, he motivated me also into it. He told the way he speaks, he takes you from the very basic, I can tell you, if you have not heard him so far. He tells you from where you scratch you start, how do you end up, how are your license being gone to others, the privileges you use, you lose, everything. So that is when I got my real motivation from. So apart from this, I teach only open source in my place. That is my commitment, and the college strictly knows about it. So why FOSS? So why I tell students to use FOSS, and these are the track lines what I followed. So this track line is that, first of all, I start to invoke. So if, for example, if a student has to show me some system, working system, okay, so how we are going to show me an output. Okay, so for example, I asked my student to show me an Android app which he has developed. Instead of showing it on an BlueStacks emulator, they deploy it real time in their phones and show me the output. So I start to invoke. I tell them if they're showing me an output, if they want to get marks for that, to do it only on open source. Any open source operating system. And I don't force them to use anything in particular. Next, I guide the process. So for example, if they're stuck, we have groups, riot groups. Okay. So then we tell them to mention it in the version control system, that is Git. So we can contribute to that. We tell them to fork. Then we tell them to commit. And then we also tell them not to work only on real-time projects. We also tell them to contribute to whatever projects which are existing on there. So that is one thing which we tell them. Okay. So apart from guiding them and taking them into the process, we also tell them to make their own self-assessment. So where do you stand? Where do you stand? I have met people who say they have been using FOSS for a couple of times, but still they have a proprietary operating system in the dual boot. They have a proprietary operating system in the dual boot. How do you call it as a FOSS user? My students do this. I'll tell you why. Because when they get a document done, they prefer using Microsoft Word instead of the writer, because it does better presentation skills or better writing technical skills. Only for the adjustments, font types and techniques, that's all, nothing more. This is what is happening. Dual boot, you run dual boot, we should ask our questions ourselves. How good are we? And we also assess the task. So assessment of the task, I don't involve as a teacher. I tell peer students to do assessments on one another. Peer students to do the assessments of one another. What happens? They will be able to understand what the project is all about and contribute more too. And then involve the community. Moreover, I encourage students to write their findings. It's going to a lot of exposure in the outer world. So how do I try to make the FOSS a better environment? Develop a user base. So this is my upcoming future plan. I want to develop a community for our involve other colleges after a later stage. And then I have spoken to them about their freedoms and their privileges. And then I want them to communicate or contribute back to the community so that they'll be able to help others who are newer in this field. I got a good mentor. That doesn't mean that everybody will get one. Okay. And then my motto is introduce FOSS to young minds to use FOSS. So when I talk about FOSS, it's completely FOSS. So this is my motive. So now of me being a professor working in an environment which is prone to some, what do I call, some rules and regulations, I am open to some suggestions where I require to make better world only for younger minds. If you have any questions, yes, I'm open to it. 2 minutes? Yeah. If you have any questions, please do let me know. And if you think I can contribute better than what is existing, you can let me know. Yes. Okay. So we recently organized workshops. That is my area of targeting people to start using FOSS. I recently target workshops. I make them use, I tell them to use this latest buzzword called Internet of Things, and I teach them only on Raspberry Pi. So ultimately, to use it on Raspberry Pi, they need to have Linux. So that is the way I invoke them to use FOSS. So once they start using this, to make more projects or works, they need to continue the work in the same line. So this is what I do. But again, at the end of the day, what happens, sad part, when they don't want to get into some academics work done, they go back to the proprietary software. Yes. Any questions? Anyone else? Yes, I'm open for suggestions also. If you can tell me where I'm making a miss or making me add something which can make the better world. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm actually a student in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
I have wanted to, in my laptop, I have wanted to install and use Linux itself, Debian-based software rather than using Windows. But I have been forced to use Windows because of proprietary softwares having that industrial standard. So I want to use, for example, finite element analysis softwares, ANSYS, and that is the only, like, that is one of the topmost softwares that is required to be used by us. So in the CFD domain, like computational fluid dynamics domain, there is OpenFOAM, which we can rely on. But in different domains, the top standard seems to be proprietary software, because of which we're forced to use it. So how would you ask me to navigate this scenario?
So maybe the languages or the softwares you told might be Greek and Latin, because I'm a computer science professor. But then you might find some alternates for that. Moreover, I'll tell you, there is no industry standards for your operating system. That just because open statement, your teacher doesn't know to use this operating system. Blunt truth. Your teacher doesn't know to use Debian. Your teacher doesn't know to use Ubuntu or any other flavor for that matter. So they force you to use proprietary operating system just because they know it. That's all. Simple as that. But the software's aspect, you might find alternatives. I'm not committing toward it, but I'm not very sure whether that exists, because mechanical engineering is not my area. Sorry.
Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation.
Thank
so
you.
maybe I have a suggestion. Have
Yes,
you
please.
considered open source internship programs like Outreach, encourage students to participate there and make them understand that they can make a career out of open source?
Yes, thank you. We have really done that. But the problem is, this pandemic has created a lot of problems. Sad part being a teacher, so the other light end. The sad part being a teacher, you will never make student talk in an online class. They'll mute. We really don't know whether they exist also. Sad part. Coming back, yes, we motivated them. We made them take up. What happens is sometimes this FOSS-based internships might not pay the internship stipend amount. Student starts focusing on the monetary funds compared to this. But then, my request to the community out here, if you really find any student who wants some mentorship in your area of expertise, please do that. Please do that. Because they are the next generation who can take FOSS on too. That is what is really important. So if it is your area of expertise, please guide them, at least to some point of time, some track of time, where they'll be able to lead it further. Any more questions? Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So apart from a good Git hygiene, what other FOSS related technologies would you suggest is essential in the first year of engineering?
First is code alignment. People lack proper reading of the code. You write a code. How do we read the code? You might write 1,000 lines of code. How do you expect me to read the code? Every basic student who was in the first year lacks this aspect. They don't know to align their code. You need separate sessions and classes to tell them how to align their code. Maybe after that, maybe the coloring or the case sensitive and all these things can play around with. But this is the most important aspect. Okay, my preference, if you ask, it should be completely over Debian only. Okay, but then I think it is left up to the user to prefer whatever he or she uses. Okay, so for code alignment, okay, for example, if you tell me to write a code, I use Joblin to write a code first. It gives me Markdown first. So I use Markdown first, then I'll align, then I can take it to Vim, or I can write it with my Kate, KDE Kate, or I can directly take it to my command line. So this is one of the best languages which uses the proper code alignment. If you don't do that, it is not going to work, that part. So someone accepts. Yes. Yeah. So any more questions? Thank you for your time. I hope we will succeed in this process. Thank you so much.